Wednesday, the 7th of September, was Threatened Species Day. Do you all know why Threatened Species Day in Australia was created? And anyone?
Because we've got an awful lot of threatened species.
We do have a lot of threatened species, but it was actually the date the last Tasmanian tiger died in captivity back in 1920s. I think it was like 1926, maybe 1924, something like that. So they're getting close to 100 years ago now. Threatened species obviously is a bit of a sore topic, because I honestly think that it's actually more beneficial for developers these days than it is actually protecting wildlife, because the most projects that's put forward when it comes to environmental destruction, if there are no threatened species, you can almost guarantee that the development's going to go ahead. In saying that, I guess we talk about the kangaroos on the peninsula. So what did we do, Joe? I think we had that slide. There were six macropod species on the peninsula. 4 are now locally extinct. 2 left. So the swamp wallaby and the eastern grey kangaroos. Now, more recently, when we talk about threatened species, they're looking at the stress-lecky koalas as looking for them to be listed critically endangered due to their genetics. Now, interesting enough, and just have a look at that, bike riders have upset the kangaroos. All the reasons that they want to list the stress-lecky koalas for their genetics as a critically endangered species could actually be applied to the eastern grey kangaroos on the Mornington Peninsula. They're an isolated population, been isolated for maybe 30 years, not exactly sure how long they've been isolated from other populations of kangaroos on the Mornington Peninsula. But I guess the closest populations of kangaroos are a small mob down around Cranbourne South. And the next closest population would be over in Listerfield National Park. And the population actually at Listerfield National Park are actually an introduced population. So they were reintroduced there. There was a population down in Seawinds wetlands that was also reintroduced, but I think they ended up taking those kangaroos out of the wetlands down there. So I think one of the things I personally would kind of like to see is we talk a lot about local extinct species, but there's no actual classification for locally endangered species. So maybe as a group we could try and get that list in upper next, the recognition of a local threatened species classification. And along with that, the next thing that we probably should consider is with the 2,500 kangaroos that are isolated, there's a rule called 5,500, and it kind of talks about genetic viability. So anything like with 50 individuals is considered genetic critically endangered for survival. But 500 is something that maintains a population, then anything under that is not really genetically viable. So we're not far away from having these eastern grey kangaroos actually in a precarious situation where there's not enough genetics in them. And with all the kangaroo fencing around, that's actually separating the problems and pushing that reality closer and closer. And I think the next really kind of important thing in regards to threatened species is nomination for threatened species. Now, a lot of people actually kind of think that you need to be a qualified person to nominate a species for a threatening classification, but you don't actually. You just need to grab the right information and then actually put in an application and submit it to Dwell, which I think is what we should consider start doing.